Greetings, everyone. This is the Caramel Citizen, back with another video for yo's. Before I get started, I decided to go ahead and change the accent to American because sometimes that Indian accent fucks shit up. And, plus, this one is louder. So I think I'm going to stick with this one for a while. I just want to give a quick shout out to Amiri Brown for the recent video he did on CJ King, and this video is going to serve as a very light rebuttal to it. That is, if I can even call it that, because I agree with the overall big picture, but there is one point that I want to refute. Now, before I get to that, I want to give my overall take on this. There is nothing wrong with CJ King being proud of his accomplishments. However, I'm growing very tired of the arguments over who the prize is between the sexes in the black sector of YouTube. It's a stupid argument, and anyone who argues over this is part of the problem. First off, why would you want to see yourself as the prize in the relationship? Do you want to see yourself as being better than your partner? Do you want to be with someone that you look down on? Do you want to be with someone that you see as being beneath you? How could you be attracted to such a person in the first place, much less be in some form a long-term relationship with them? Are you not aware that long-term relationships require mutual respect? Would you ever want to be in a long-term relationship with a woman that sees you as the one who is beneath her? Of course not. Let's throw out some examples. Let's say there's a woman nearby who happens to be a dime. I mean, she's got the perfect ass, the perfect titties, no kids, shit, pick your favorite celebrity. Now, let's say she knows how fine she is and starts talking herself up as being the prize. Y'all niggas would lose y'all's motherfucking minds. Don't believe me? The more desirable you are, the more standards you can command. No one will try to dispute this. That being said, such a hypothetical woman will state what her standards are, and one of them will likely be a height requirement, among many others. There are whole videos, and even YouTube channels dedicated to griping about the standards that women have. If a woman so much as calls herself fine or makes statements about how she can get any man she wants, many men, myself included, will refuse to show her any attention, just because of the shit she's saying. Ever since Facebook and the phenomenon of thirst traps, men have been voicing their displeasure over it. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but in the interest of staying relevant to this video, it's because of the attention seeking and, ultimately, she puts herself in a position above the men who are falling into her thirst trap. You don't want to talk to a woman who thinks that she's above you, do you? Do y'all remember Living Single? Now, as an aside, I personally wasn't a hardcore fan and I simply watched it because I didn't feel like getting up and changing the channel after Martin went off. But, there were 4 female characters on Living Single: Khadija, Sinclair, Maxine, and Regine. Objectively speaking, the most physically attractive of these 4 women was Regine, played by Kim Fields. However, if you could have any of these 4 women, as portrayed in the series, would you really want to have anything to do with Regine? I mean, she was conceited as hell. I remember one episode where she accused a man of being gay for not staring at her when they were in the same room. But if Regine had the same exact personality as Maxine, she'd be perfect. Am I right? So, what you have to think about is the fact that when CJ King pulled his stunt, black women are looking at him the same exact way that many of us looked at Regine on Living Single. No one wants to be looked down upon by a long-term partner. Now, here's something that I want to say to Amiri Brown. I think that we need to be very careful, and look at the arguments being used by swirlers, and even Pookie and Ray Ray defenders, before we dismiss what CJ King did was the norm in other communities. Here's what you have to think about. Swirlers will say they don't like black men because they're unemployable, have low educational achievement, have been to prison, have low-paying jobs if they even have a job in the first place, and have a bunch of kids by different baby mamas. They'll go on to say that they want a white man, because white men don't have those issues. But let a black man say, "But I have a good paying job, a 4-year degree, never been to prison, and no children. Then that same swirler dismisses what he said as basic. You see, it's basic shit when she finds a white man with that criteria. Meeting that very criteria is why she wants white men in the first place. But when a black man points out that he meets that same criteria, the swirler dismisses it as basic. See what I'm saying? We need to stop assisting them with that argument. Same for the Pookie and Ray Ray defenders. They want to say things like how what CJ did is minimal. That's why he doesn't impress black women. But, hold on. These same black women have no problem having fuck trophies by men who don't even meet what they deem minimum. How can women write something off as minimum, when they themselves don't even require it? Hell, not only do they not require it, they actively exclude it. Let me get to the point that I want to refute, that earning a college degree, much less a JD, is considered minimal or the norm in other communities. This is false. Now, on the other things, such as staying out of prison and not having a bunch of kids with different baby mamas, we can agree. But if we look at the stats, we'll find that men earning a 4-year degree is not the norm among any racial group except for Asians, not even whites. Note, the link to the stats I'm citing is down below in the description. As of 2018, 38.9% of white men aged 25 or older have at least a bachelor's degree. For black men aged 25 and older, that figure is 23.7%. That's lower than the rate for white men, right? However, only 16.6% of Hispanic men aged 25 and older have at least a bachelor's degree. You heard right, a higher percentage of black men aged 25 and older have at least a bachelor's degree than Hispanic men. Asian men are the only men where more than half aged 25 and older have at least a bachelor's degree, at 60.1%. In other words, only in the Asian community are men having at least a 4-year degree the norm. It is not the norm among whites or any other group. In fact, it is even less of a norm among Hispanic men than it is among black men. A black man with a 4-year degree has bested 61.1% of white men aged 25 and older. Again, only 38.9% of white men aged 25 and older have at least a bachelor's degree. That number would be lower, if Jews were counted separately. If we go with master's or higher, and CJ King would definitely fall into this category, he has bested 92.3% of white men. So, that's the point I wanted to address. Amiri Brown has addressed this point, but so has Crystalline Karazin-Russell. The statement that men attaining a 4-year degree is the norm outside of the black community is false. It is only the norm in the Asian community, that's it. 61.1% of white men aged 25 and older do not have at least a bachelor's degree, that's nearly 2/3. When nearly 2/3 of white men aged 25 and older do not have at least a bachelor's degree, you cannot say that having a bachelor's degree is basic or the norm among them. However, if we look at the bigger picture, then I'll say once again that I'm in agreement with Amiri Brown. No one is going to be turned on by someone throwing their desirability in other people's faces. As a matter of fact, it's a turn off. This is the Caramel Citizen, signing